Welcome everyone. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for signing up and just taking time out of your day. So, and I want to thank the staff and, you know, the building and the city and the ferries and all of that. So, yay, everybody, let's clap our hands. Yay! And as I can see, you have a treasure on your seat, which is from the lending library, which you could actually take out, sign out. But it's also designed to do two things, to kind of give you something to look at, and or though too, we're going to be drawing doodling, and I'm going to term it doodle, even though sometimes it sort of has a connotation that it's not a serious thing, and I want to be serious and I want to be sophisticated, but it's play, okay? So we're going to have you interacting with paper and pens, and I'm going to be talking, and then we have supplies on the back table, and I'll let you know how that goes. But to start, I can pass out paper. So take some and pass it to your neighbor. This is from my school teacher days. Except I don't count. It's too hard to count the pile. So there might be too many in there, but that's okay. You could take more than one. Oh, the other thing though too, okay. So I'm gonna give you more information maybe that you need to know or not enough. I don't know. But just let me know. You know, if you have questions in between, we'll also have a bigger time at the end where, you know, we can congregate, work one-on-one, and think tank together. And my job is to pass out papers still. Oh, you got, oh. Okay. You guys are good, yeah. Yeah, I'll just give you a pile, even for later. So on the back table, for later, there's scissors and there's pens, okay? So I want to talk about a couple of things before you get started. Or, oh, I know. Breathe. So many things to say all at once. Blah, blah, blah. Yes. So really, the quality of your mark, or this description of your mark, will depend upon the paper that you have and the instrument that you use. Thick or thin. We have gel pens. We have a ballpoint, which I used to just don't give me a ballpoint, and now I'm in love with ballpoints. So, and then we have pens there, and we have gel pens. So, and then too, I also brought some extra papers if you'd like to experiment, because the surface is interesting. I have some heavyweight paper, which will absorb the ink differently. I have some decorative paper, and then this paper is just brown paper that I gessoed, and that'll be on the back table. So you can help yourselves to that, and also some black paper, but if you have black, then you need to use like a white. So that'll be here for further exploration. We also, when you walk away today, you're gonna have a greeting card, and then you're gonna tape one of your treasures on top, and then you're gonna get an envelope so you can take it home with you, and then you'll sign it. So you're really making an excellent piece of artwork. So let's pass out pens. So, hi, welcome.
Oh, I'm sitting on it. Oh, I didn't know. You're sitting on a book.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's
so the books are
welcome.
I'm sorry,
no worries. You're here. Excellent. Okay, so once you get one of these and one of these, I just want you to start. And I can give you some concrete things, like if you don't know what to do, just do circles and straight lines. And do combinations of circles and straight lines, because it's full of possibilities. And that's what I want you to fall into. I want you to fall into what they call, you know, like the flow, that is really comes from internally you, and it comes out in a way that's from your own experiences, your own handwriting, your own inner voice, you know, without too much pressure, but that you're just making. And a friend of mine, she was saying that creativity takes practice. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it does take some antennas, you know, to sort of, oh, making this, doing this and doing that. Sometimes when I do clay, it's whatever's next to me I stick on the pot. So I'm not a planner. I can't plan it out. These paintings I do, I can't plan it. If I plan it, I get frustrated, you know. So I just go on your, you know. So when I go to my studio, I shut the door. I paint for me, you know, even though I might have a deadline, which can change up, but just the feeling of making. So in reference to my book that I wrote quite a while ago, If You Can Doodle, You Can Paint, and I also brought in the German copy, so it got translated into German. Many of you speak German. But I want to reference just really quickly that the lines that you make depends upon your tools. It's pretty basic, but I think it's fascinating. You know, like the beginning and endings of pots when you're making something out of clay. So then it comes down to your touch. Is how do you touch the page? And if you can think of it as a tickle touch or a scratch touch, it's that kind of energy that you can do. Thick and thin lines, dashed lines, dotted lines, zigzags. It's all just energy onto the page. The other thing that we do, and I do this all the time, and I try to break away from that, I'm just like this all day with the paint. But to really move your arm, you know, back and forth, and it's hard to do on this surface, but you can, from your elbow, you know, and not just the fingers, because we're always writing in a small way. So the book addresses that. And then, of course, this was the best day of writing the book. It took a year. I was at my studio, and I just put up paper, and then just went for it. And Matisse took pictures, and I didn't know she was taking my picture there, which is the best. That's why we're going to ignore the cameras right now. We just do stuff. This is about the circles and the lines. This is just the circles and the lines put together. Okay, so that's one thing you can do right now. The other thing that I love to do, circles and lines, is just go from left to right, because that's how we read. So our brains are kind of programmed to do that. Depends upon the language, right? Right? So you could just do loops. You could write your name over and over and over, you know, and then you could, eventually you're going to think of something different. You might be going up and down, you might be going zigzags and sideways. So that's what I want you to fall into. Just do it. This one's done when I was reading, which was kind of more of an experiment for the book. What else can I add? You know? When I was reading, I doodled when I was reading.
Could you hold your awesome book up higher? Yeah.
Yes. And then it comes down to, once you look at all of your doodles, because mine are on my morning pages or they're on my to-do list, and they're everywhere when I'm talking on the phone. There's something really soothing about that. It's like knitting in a meeting, right? And I think we're kind of wired in that way somehow. We're makers. For me, it's hard to sit still. So it really helps everything else that I'm doing. I'm going to start knitting. I'm going to try. But anyway. So then it comes down to, then I divide it into categories, like chairs, tables, lamps, however you want to, you know, vegetables, or what you're interested in as well. So then comes in some abstract stuff. It doesn't have to be anything. And abstract has its own values and whatnot. So, okay. So these are actually, if you want to take a look at these are what I saved. These are the examples from the book. And so then what happens is that I collect them when I see something on the page This is more of a developed, but this is, you know, when I'm on the phone to Verizon or, you know, some torturous phone call, you know, things come out, or, you know, like just these dots. And I know you can't really see them, but then when you cut them out and put them on something else, it makes them look differently in a different way. Especially on this brown paper, there's something amazing about brown paper. It instantly sort of puts the groove on rather than white. Okay, so the other thing is these are the cups in the book. So you doodle on cups, you can doodle on your jeans, on your clothes. So these are also here if you would like a cup to draw on. And these might take more of a marker. I found these at Cash and Carry because they're kind of shiny. But you can try that. So you're welcome to stand up. Do that. So then I have to be careful what they say. Like this one says, call B of A, credit cards, and then I have phone numbers on there. And I'm like, well, that's a little bit too obvious. So when I cut it up, it becomes more of a mystery and becomes part of the composition, which makes it more interesting. And then what I want you to do is we have glue sticks over here. Oh, we have glue sticks, and I brought this washi tape. So I always put the glue stick on the back and then press it into the card. And then as well, if you want to, we have the washi tape. You could take the washi tape and put just, yeah, it's decorative tape. Just to add another dimension to the whole thing. Well, only 3 made it, but that's pretty cool, right? So there just turns out just like that. And then the best part too is you put your name on it, and then when you send it off in the mail, people go, "Oh, you made it." It just feels really good to receive something that's intentionally elevated for connecting and communicating. Okay. So the other thing, though, that I wanted to show you, and it's also in the book, is that with that same upa, with that same feeling that you have going. Oh, I know. Before I share that, everybody hold theirs up so everybody can see. Share with your neighbor. I recognize those. Beautiful. Excellent. Yes. Joan? Yeah. Oh, yeah, with all of this and the thick and thin. Oh, you guys. Yay, let's clap again. Yes. Yes, all of these. The other thing that I have is the viewfinders. So that, right, this is such a good trick. And even on your page, like, check this out, you know?
Great, thank you.
So, yeah, so you find the nuggets in there. When you find the nuggets, maybe you could take one and pass it. When you find your nuggets, then go to the table and find some scissors and cut it out. The other thing that could happen, you could put it all over the place, on the outside and on the inside, and on the envelope too, just as a signature. So then you're a designer. You're designing cards. Wouldn't that be cool? Just make cards out of doodles.
Yeah. Yeah,
Everyone is an artist.
Absolutely.
Human beings we're made to be creative. We make things, we do things, conversation is creative. Even though, you know, we're sort of pegged that it's a certain way, or you're just born with it. It's just really just showing up and participating. So if you would like, there's also a cup that we have on the table, which is another challenge because it's round. It's like doing clay for me. It's not flat.
Then it's finding things in the
And Deborah asked, you know, what else could we do with them? You could cut them and lay them flat, and then weave things in between with them, or make a bell.
Wind chimes.
Wind chimes. Okay, so I have been stepping back and watching. Everybody still has their heads down. Looks like you're doing great. What I'm seeing happening is such a diverse things. So there's two things I like to do before the hour is up. I was just going to jump into painting a little bit with the same sensibilities. Because for me it is. Just the making with the line, the type of tools I'm using, the background, what's underneath, but we're adding color, which is a whole different component for form and design, but that's okay, you know, because I look at it as like I'm fascinated by what the color is doing. It's just like has its own ideas of where it's going to take you. So since in the description I did say that I will demonstrate that, and that's part of where I want to go, but then I also want to have this crescendo of celebration and what you're making and what your ideas are or what your questions are. So that's kind of where we're headed. So these, and I'm not going to pass these out, but these are just examples. But you know, if I had enough time for a workshop, we would be working with color. And this is just colored paper that's been gessoed, and then you add paint to them, and then you work on top of these. So you're kind of building skills slowly, not skill, but just comfortability. When my kids were in high school, I could just do small little things when they were little. I could never do a large surface, but it kind of grew over time. So do what you feel comfortable with. And then of course I'm going to show you, you know, how it can expand. And it's the same thing. And I think this is a marker, because you can use charcoal, you can use Derwent's ink pencils, you can, I mean, you know, this is the surface, and then you can build color. And I can pass these out. And then these are books. You can sew books.
Are any of those available to use now?
No, I don't have the space to design that for everyone today. But if we have a workshop in the future, then that's something that and these are just samples for you to look at. You can just take them and pass them, okay? So, okay, so so I have two boards, and these are masonite boards that I go to Home Depot, and then they cut them for me into 12 by 12 inch squares, right? And then I gesso them. And then I will tell you that one of these paintings does have, and this is a larger sketchbook that this was cut from, and sheets from this same page went into this painting here, and you can kind of see there's some lines involved with that jump-started the painting. So I glued this down onto the board before I started. And I think there's 2 or 3 strips, And then I just continued the line from what was already there. And then it grew, and then I added paint on top of it too. So the way that you glue something down really well, make sure that you put water on this. You can spray it so that it absorbs water before you put the gel on top, because otherwise the paper will wrinkle too much. And that's just a really good trick. So with that said, and I don't know if you can see, that's the thing. But I already start out with the color. And anymore, I start off with a transparent, and this is a fluid acrylic, so it's not too thick. So I start off with the transparent color, and then I just stain the surface. And I don't start off too light. Sometimes I start off super thick, and sometimes I don't. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a grid. And in the book, there's an example of a grid painting. So that it's going to set up structure. So then I won't feel like, what do I do and how do I do next? So I'm just going to make a grid. And I don't like to measure, so this is good enough, right? So then I have these little boxes. Then I can take my papers that I have cut out, and then I'm going to put them in those spaces. And it's just going to be randomly, and I know and I trust that I'll know what to do when it's time. And I want you to know that you don't need to know before you start. You don't even need to know when you're in the middle of it, but you will know when you get there. Like if I'm on a large painting and there's like this thing here, and I'm painting, I'm like, the thing is going, what's happening? And I'm like, well, I'll get to it in a minute. I'll know when I know, because I don't know until I know, because I'm busy over here. So it's something to really trust. So usually I have a spray bottle, and that's really super soggy. I just dipped it in the water. And then the thing with the gel media is put the gel media on the surface, and then underneath the paper, and then again on top. So there's one, and then, oops. You could call it a decoupage, yeah.
Similar to that.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know, is decoupage a technique? It also could be a brand of what you buy.
I don't know.
I don't know, but
Mod Podge.
Mod Podge is the brand. Okay, so now things are happening. I'm kind of out of the line with the bridge. The paper is wrinkling, and I don't like that. So I make sure that I press from the inside out to get those wrinkles out, right? So then that's kind of what I do. But you can already see, how I can set myself up for something up there, additional things to copy. Copying yourself, like getting a Xerox and blowing things up. If you like it small, you can blow them up, and then you can glue them down, and then they're even bigger, right? So I think I'll glue a couple more things down, and then I'm going to check our time.
And that stays stuck down pretty well over time. start peeling up on you at some point or anything. Really.
Maybe 10 years from now, and then I don't know. But that's a good question.
So
there.
there's some unknowns to the law.
Yeah, but typically this is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
This is gel media, even though it's in a different container. It's plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's plastic based, so it's going to seal it,
Right.
Oh, I see.
right?
Yeah.
So that
And it's also sinking into the paper, so like it's right.
yeah. So it doesn't necessarily come off if I've added enough. If I make sure there's no edges that are coming up, and then if it comes off later, yay, because it makes it look more interesting. It'll be like The Beautiful Oops. Have you guys read that book?
No.
Oh, it's amazing. I teach kids in the summer. I have a kids' school in the summer called Go with Van Gogh, and I read it
Wow, that's cool.
all the time. Because you wrinkle the paper, and the kids want to start over.
Throw it away.
Well, what else can we do? And it takes a while. It's a hard shift. Oh, I dripped, I wrecked it. And they're crying, and I have to talk them down and calm them down.
Yeah.
But ahead of time, it's a beautiful oops. Even in our day and our schedules, how things happen to us. Okay, so. Yes, but with that said, I don't really, this is too big. I've never used Mod Podge.
Oh, I use gallons of it.
Oh, you do?
It seems like it could work okay.
I think it would. And are you working with collage? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. Yeah. And there might be a difference in price, but typically gel media, what gel media really is, this is really the base of acrylic paint. They've just added pigment to it. So this is also an extender for acrylic paint that I like to use when I paint, especially with heavy bodies because it's too thick. So when this goes in, if it's shiny, that's something to make it shiny, then it adds an extra layer of this vibrance in between. So I have to say I can't really paint without it. This is the secret sauce in the whole deal.
Gloss or matte?
I have gloss right now. Okay. So then the next thing I use, and I know I see some of my students here, we have used before these brushes, which is a rigger brush, which is really a liner brush, and you can tell it's well loved because it's like freaked out. It's like it's not pointy, but I still use it. And then this is what I use for a line. So you can get a very small brush and do the same thing. The only thing is that then when I do use, oh, I forgot the dark. Okay. So then probably squished too much. Oops. You guys are being so good. Nobody's wiggly. Art camp starts pretty soon, so I'm thinking about. Okay.
Is your art camp teens only or children only?
It's kids. Yeah.
I'm gonna sign up.
It's kids. Yes. So then I just start drawing the same way I would with a pen. And then I just see what happens. So then I have a foundation, and maybe I want to put the grid in or not. Let's see. And when my hand shakes, I just use my other hand to stabilize it. And I think I will to sort of create a format here. And how cool is that? It gives me a double line. Okay, so then I let's see, tighten buff. Come out. Squish it, squish it. Squish it. Anyway, this just kind of gives you just a little bit of jump start from your line work that just flows. This is the same thing. It just flows. Do the line, put paper down, and then add paint.
What kind of, is that paint or what is that?
Yeah, this is Titan Buff, which is an off-white. So that I'm starting to layer, and I'm getting some really interesting things. So what's underneath is informing what's on top, and that's the exciting part of adding paint. And then if it's not all the way dry, it softens and spreads pretty easily. So then, let's say I did the whole thing with all of these, because we're going to run out of time. Then I would go back and pick up clues and more details of what I see on here. And I might even get my gel pen out, or something else that makes a line, or you can scratch through the surface and create some images in that way. And or you can use more color. But I'm feeling crunchy for time. So we have 10 minutes. Yeah. Yay, everybody clap, we have 10 minutes. So, I could just stay here and paint all day. I mean, right? And it would be fun sometime, to have a workshop that's more involved, that I'm not rushing at the end. But what I really wanted you to do was to have that experience with the paper. And then know you can take that same feeling into whatever else you do. Into if you're working with clay, if you're working even in the garden. I don't know much about gardens, but or food. I'm not a cook, I just heat up food. Okay, what I'd like to do is, before Deborah speaks, I would just like to, does anybody have any questions? How was it for you? Was it a struggle? Struggles aren't bad. I have them all the time. Constantly, like, what is this? What am I doing? And then, oh, I'm good. So, yes, Carol.
I want to ask you a question that's personal. If you want to tell them about your online videos and courses, they're wonderful.
Oh, Carol wants to tell you about, I do teach online through Carla and Steve Sondheim, and we've recorded 7, and but I haven't taught a class for a very long time, but I hope to do that. I also love to work with people one-on-one, because then we get right down to it. Where are you? What do you need? What's the content? And it's just really filling for me. And you come to my studio. Just come to my studio a bunch of times. And so, and then just a little bit of background. I have my undergrad in drawing and painting, University of Utah. My master's in teaching at CLU. I've taught at CLU with their education program, bringing the arts into the curriculum. And I'm really seeing just the whole, schools are overwhelmed, which is the basics. And so I used to be like, why can't they? But now I'm like, okay, it's time for facilities to step up and to nurture creativity in adults and kids, because it really does make our lives better. And I think since, the whole pandemic, everybody is wanting to tend a garden, and tend to your heart. And what is it? And to be makers and reinsurgence with stitching and knitting, ceramics. So, well, we have a question.
I have a question about your acrylic paintings. I've had some people express an interest in them, and they're wondering, do they hold up well if they're put into direct sunlight for a period of time, or is there some sort of product that you can recommend for protecting them?
Well, sunlight is a thing. We have a cabin in northern Wisconsin, and it would eat the couch because the window was open. But this is what I get about acrylics paints, is that when I was an undergrad, acrylic paints were like worse than anything you'd ever want to paint with, right? And then they got together with the car manufacturer paint companies, and they redid the whole sensibilities. So they are more durable, plastic-based, like cars. So as far as in our lifetime, I don't think you're going to see a difference. But this, you know, the sun is the sun at the same time. And then, you know, with the gel media mixed in there, my take is they should be okay.
Okay.
But there's no, like, 1,000% no.
Right, right.
If we live that long, we'll know. Right?
To add something to that?
Yeah.
So yeah, the sun is treacherous. It'll bleach
Treacherous.
things.
Yes.
And if you really need to protect something, then you want to have like a piece of UV glass over it that will stop the worst of the sun from bleaching it out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, and that changes it because it makes reflections on top and stuff. But
It does.
But
that's really the only way to know
that's
for
the
sure.
only way. Either that or just make sure it's not in direct sunlight.
Right.
Bad idea. with
Right.
mine.
But like all day long, but a couple hours, it should be fine.
I would think.
Who knows? Yeah.
I wanted to know, you say you're going to be possibly coming back doing workshops. I want to know when that will be.
Oh, thank you. We'll just get on Deborah's
Yeah,
list.
Karen and I
I'm
were
on
just saying we
their
want to have you back to do a more extensive
Yeah.
workshop, so.
Yeah, and we haven't
Come up
really
with a
talked about
schedule.
that yet,
Okay.
but I just kind of announced it, didn't I?
Yeah, no, we would love to host that.
About what you
Okay.
said, because
Yeah.
I want to sign up.
And I have in the past. We used to have workshops, I mean, this was like 8 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, at
we're
a
bringing
school.
them back after COVID. so.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to say thanks for a method to get unstuck, because I tend to overwork things and get very fussy, and this is like a wonderful way to loosen up and free up and cut things up and re-glue them, and it was just total fun.
Well, it's been a real pleasure having you here and doing this, and we're serious about wanting to set up a more extensive workshop. So we'll get to work on that, and we'll let you guys know. Please join us for our latest exhibition featuring dear friends Kimberly Morris and Diane Culhane, which will be on view between June 2nd and July 2nd.